Jay here. Welcome to Beginning Drums Chapter 14. We're going to start off with some rhythms and rudiments, and we're going to keep exploring our eighth note triplet along with our other rhythms we've learned along the way. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at number one. Number one's going to start off with quarter notes for bar one, all four beats. When we get to bar two, we're going to do eighth note triplets on beats 1, 2, and 3. We'll have a quarter note rest on beat 4. Bar 3 has eighth notes on beat 1, a quarter note on beat 2, eighth note triplets on beats 3 and 4, and then a whole note rest for bars for the fourth bar, and that means we won't play anything for that last bar. Okay, here comes number one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, rest. 1 and 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll be doing each of these one time. I definitely recommend repeat each of these 4 to 8 times and try out your different tempos, slow, medium, and fast. Okay, take a look at number 2. This one's going to start off with eighth note triplets for beats 1 and 2 of bar 1. We'll have a half note rest on beat 3 and 4. All eighth notes for bar 2. Bar 3 is going to have a quarter note rest on beat 1, eighth note triplets on beats 2 and 3, and a quarter note rest on beat 4. When we get to bar 4, we're going to have eighth note rest on the downbeat of beat 1 and 2, but we will hit the ands of those beats, and then we'll have quarter notes on beats 3 and 4. Here comes number 2. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and rest. 2 triplet, 3 triplet, rest. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Okay, take a look at number 3. We're going to start off with eighth notes on beat 1. We'll have an eighth note rest on the downbeat of 2. We'll hit the eighth note on the and of 2. Eighth notes on beat 3 and a quarter note on beat 4. Whole note rest for the second bar. Bar 3 is going to have eighth note triplets on beat 1 and 2. And then we'll have a quarter note rest on beat 3 with an eighth note triplet on beat 4. Bar 4 is going to have a quarter note on beat 1, eighth notes on beat 2, quarter note triplet on beat 3, and then a quarter note on beat 4. Okay, here comes number 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and rest and 3 and 4, rest, 2, 3, 4. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, rest, 4 triplet, 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4. Okay, I'm going to do 3 a little faster. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, rest, 2, 3, 4. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, rest, 4 triplet, 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4. Okay, let's take a look at number 4. For number 4, we're going to start off with a half note rest for beat 1 and 2, eighth notes on beat 3 with the eighth note triplet on beat 4. Bar 2 is going to have an eighth note triplet on beat 1, a quarter note on beat 2, eighth note triplets on beats 3 and 4. Bar 3 starts off with a quarter note rest on beat 1, a quarter note on beat 2, quarter note rest on beat 3, eighth note triplet on beat 4. Bar 4 is going to have a quarter note rest on beat 1, eighth notes on beat 2, and then a half note rest for beat 3 and 4. Here comes number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest, rest, 3 and 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1, 2, 3, 4 triplet, 1, 2 and 3, 4. Okay, take a look at number 5. For number 5, we're going to start off with the quarter note on beat 1, and then we'll have eighth note triplets for beats 2, 3, and 4. Bar 2 is going to start off with eighth note triplets on beats 1 and 2. We'll have quarter notes for beats 3 and 4. Bar 3 is going to start off with a eighth note rest on the downbeat of 1. We'll hit the and of that beat with eighth notes on beat 2. Similar concept for beats 3 and 4. We'll have an eighth note rest on the downbeat of 3. We'll hit the and of that beat, and then we'll have eighth notes on beat 4. For bar 4, there's a half note rest for beats 1 and 2, quarter note rest for beat 3, and then an eighth note triplet on beat 4. Here comes number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3, 4. Rest and 2 and rest and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 triplet. Okay, I also want to make sure that you're rotating your sticks and getting in a good balance of both your lefts and your rights. Okay, let's take a look at number 6. For this one, we're going to start off with a quarter note rest on beat 1, and then we'll have an eighth note triplet on beat 2, eighth notes on beat 3, and a quarter note on beat 4. For bar 2, we have a quarter note on beat 1, eighth notes on beats 2, eighth note triplets on beats 3 and 4. Bar 3 is going to have an eighth note triplet on beat 1, a quarter note rest on beat 2, eighth note triplets on beat 3, and then a quarter note on beat 4. Bar 4 is going to have an eighth note triplet on beat 1, and then for beats 2 and 3, we'll have an eighth note rest on the downbeat, but we will hit the ands of those beats, and then beat 4 is a quarter note rest. Okay, here comes number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, rest, 2 triplet, 3 and 4, 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, rest, 3 triplet, 4, 1 triplet, rest, and rest, and rest. Okay, number 7 is going to start off with the whole note rest. We won't play anything for bar 1. Bar 2's got an eighth note triplet on beat 1, a quarter note rest on beat 2, eighth note triplets on beats 3 and 4. Bar 3's got a quarter note on beat 1. On beat 2, we'll have an eighth note rest for the downbeat. We'll hit the and of that beat. Beat 3 is a quarter note rest. Beat 4 is a quarter note. Bar 4 is going to start with a quarter note rest on beat 1, and then we'll have eighth note triplets for beats 2, 3, and 4. Okay, here comes number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 triplet rest. 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1, 2, and rest. 4, 1, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Okay, let's do the last one, number 8. We're going to start this one off. Beats 1 and 2 will have an eighth note rest on the downbeat. We'll hit the ands of those beats. Quarter notes on beats 3 and 4. Bar 2 has a quarter note on beat 1, eighth note triplets on beats 2 and 3 with a quarter note on beat 4. Bar 3 has an eighth note triplet on beat 1, eighth notes on beats 2. Beats 3 and 4 are a half note rest. Bar 4 has an eighth note triplet on beat 1 with eighth notes on beats 2 and 3 and a quarter note on beat 4. Okay, here comes number 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4. 1 triplet, 2 and rest, rest. 1 triplet, 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, let's go ahead and take it into our rudiments. The rudiment for this chapter is the flam accent. Okay, this is when we're going to put a flam before a eighth note triplet, and they're going to be all singles for the triplet. So if I'm going to do a triplet starting with my right, 1 triplet, I'm just going to put a flam with my left right before that. So a quick left, left, right, left, right. So always good to just practice your flams a little bit. Okay, now you should have probably a natural accent on the downbeat. So if I accent that right, that's kind of the sound. And then opposite. Okay, let's go ahead and put it in action. We're going to build into the eighth note triplet. Let's start off with quarter notes, and I'm going to have us in 3/4, so 3 beats per bar. Okay, now just think of it like we're going to do a right flam. So we're going to hit our left first, and then we'll do a left, right, and then we'll just rest for the next 3 beats of the next bar. So it'll be a rest, rest, rest. Okay, so think of it like a flam, left, right, rest, rest, rest. Okay, I'll count us in. 1, 2, 3, flam, left, right, rest, 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 flam, right, left, rest, rest, rest. Okay, for number 2, we're just not going to put in those rests, but similar concept for the first bar. So I'm going to do a flam with my right, so that's that left right before, and then a left right, and then I'm just going to do singles, left, right, left. So just singles for the second bar, and then we'll flip our sticks when we start over again. 1, 2, 3, flam, left, right, left, right, left, flam, right, left, right, left, right. Okay, now let's go ahead with number 3. We're going to turn it into an eighth note triplet this time. Okay, now here's my flam accent, flam triplet. So if you can think of it like that, flam triplet, rest, flam triplet, rest. Okay, here's number 3. 1, 2, flam triplet, rest, flam triplet, rest, flam triplet, rest, flam triplet, rest. For number 4, we're going to do a flam accent into a quarter note. So if I think of a flam, right, left, right, and then just to the left. And then we'll flip the sticks for the next one. 1, 2, triplet, flam triplet, 2, flam triplet, 2, flam triplet, 2, flam triplet, 2. Okay, for number 5, we're just gonna do back-to-back flam accents. Now, I have it written where we'll flip our sticks each beat, so it's gonna be a flam triplet, flipping sticks each beat. 1, 2 triplet, flam triplet, flam triplet. Okay, here's that one a little faster. All right, welcome to Beats and Fills. This chapter's beat's gonna have 8th notes in our bass drum on beat 1, and then we're gonna have bass drums on the ands of beats 2, 3, and 4. Okay, filling in a lot of bass drums for this chapter. Let's go ahead and look at beat number 1. This will be the quarter note version of this beat. Let's take it nice and slow. Okay, on beat 1, we're gonna have a bass drum with our hi-hat on the downbeat. We're gonna hit a bass drum by itself on the and of 1. On beat 2, we'll hit our snare and hi-hat together. Bass drum by itself on the and of 2. Beat 3 is a hi-hat by itself on the downbeat of 3. Bass drum by itself on the and of 3. Beat 4 has snare and hi-hat together on the downbeat, and then a bass drum by itself on the and of 4. Okay, here's beat number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, for beat number 2, this is going to be the 8th note version of the beat. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. For your 2 8th notes on beat 1, that's going to be hi-hat and bass drum together. 1 and. On beat 2, we're going to hit our snare and hi-hat on the downbeat, and then we'll hit our bass drum with the hi-hat on the and of 2. On beat 3, we'll have a hi-hat by itself on the downbeat. We'll hit the bass drum on the and of the beat together with the hi-hat. And on beat 4, we're going to hit our snare and hi-hat together on the downbeat, and then we'll hit the bass drum on the and of 4 with our hi-hat. Here's beat number 2. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, let's look at beat number 3. Okay, we're going to do the 16th note version of this beat. The way we're going to count our 16th notes is like this. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Okay, on beat 1, we're going to hit our bass drum on the downbeat of 1 with our hi-hat. 1 E and. So we'll hit that bass drum on the and of beat 1 as well. Okay, now on beat 2, we're going to hit our snare with our hi-hat on the downbeat. 2 E, and then we'll hit the bass drum on the and of 2, and. On beat 3, we're going to have that bass drum on the and, so it'll be 3 E and. And on beat 4, just like beat 2, we're going to hit our snare on the downbeat, 4 E, and then we'll hit the bass drum on the and of 4, and. Here's beat number 3. 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. some fills. We're going to start off with a particular rhythm. There's going to be 4 examples. We'll do all snare for part 1. Part 2, I'm going to put it somewhere on the drum set, arranged or orchestrated. And then for part 3, you're going to make up your own fill and write it down on the staff. Okay, let's start off with fill number 1. We're going to have a quarter note on beat 1 and then 8th note triplets on beats 2, 3, and 4. This is all snare. For part 2, I put this one on the drum set around the horn, so that quarter note's going to go on snare for beat 1, and then the triplets will go tom 1, tom 2, and then the floor tom for beats 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now it's time for you to make up your own drum fill. And we've been doing this throughout the whole book. So let's say, and we're going to use that specific rhythm for each number. So for number 1, there's a quarter note on beat 1, wherever you want to put that. Let's say we want to put in a bass drum and a snare together. I could do a combination, and I would just connect those and put a straight stem up straight for a quarter note. And then your bass drum's on that bottom space. Your snare is on the second to top space. Okay, now we're going to have a triplet on beat 2. So let's say if I want to put that triplet in my bass drum, I'll just put 3 bass drums on the bottom space, boom, 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 connect them, put a 3 above the top with the straight flag across the top, and you have yourself an 8th note triplet. On beat 2, if I want to put the next triplet, if I want to split it up maybe, if I want to go 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, let's say, I can put in 2 tom 2s and then a tom 1. Again, connect them, put the 3 up above, and you have yourself a triplet. On the last beat, let's say if I want to put ride, 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 I could just put X's above the staff, 3 of those, and maybe write ride or write an R. That way you know the difference if it's a hi-hat or a ride, since they're both X's. And then you've got yourself your own fill. Okay, let's go ahead and look at number 2. For number 2, we're going to start off with an 8th note triplet on beat 1. There's a quarter note on beat 2, and then 8th note triplets on beats 3 and 4. This is all snare. Okay, the way I arrange fill number 2, the 8th note triplet on beat 1 will be all tom 1. The quarter note on beat 2 is a flam on your snare. Okay, I'm going to split up a little bit here. On the triplet on beat 3, I'm going to do the first note on tom 2 and then a bass drum for the middle note and then another note on tom 2 for that last part of the triplet. On beat 4 for my triplet, I'm going to go floor tom snare snare for those 3 notes. So getting inside of the triplets a little bit, splitting them up, having some fun. Okay, for number 3, we're going to start off with 8th notes on beat 1. There's a quarter note rest on beat 2, 8th note triplet on beat 3, and a quarter note rest on beat 4. This is all snare. Okay, the way I arrange this one, I put the 8th notes on beat 1 as a bass drum and crash combo 2 times. And on beat 3 for that triplet, I'm going to go 2, 1 snare. So splitting up each note of that triplet. For fill number 4, we're going to do 2 beats of triplets for beats 1 and 2, and then we're going to have a half note rest for beats 3 and 4. The first beat of triplets is all flams on my tom 2. And then for the triplet on beat 2, I'm going to split it up a little bit here. I'm going to go floor bass to a flam on my floor. Okay, now we're going to combine our beats and fills. The goal here is to play 4 bars of the beats of the chapter into one of our fills. You could play one of my fills for snare or drum set, or you could play one of the fills that you invented. I'm going to give you examples of all my orchestrated drum fills starting from numbers 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so for number 1 here, we're going to start off with our quarter note beat 4 times, and then I'm going to go into my fill number 1 on the drum set. Okay, now it's time for you to make up your own drum fill. The goal is to play 4 bars of a beat and then just make up any drum fill you want for 1 bar. So still counting our beats, still counting our bars, but now you could have at it and play anything you'd like. Welcome to the study. Today we're going to talk about the double snare backbeat. That's what I call it. That's when instead of just hitting our normal backbeat, boom, get, doom, get, we're going to put in 2 hits on our snare, doom, get, doom, get, and lots of different variations of that. So the double snare backbeat's a really cool thing. You hear it quite often. I learned about some of this from listening to a lot of surf rock. You hear that beat a lot in that genre. Get. So I've always really dug that sound, and it's a fun thing to add in and make original beats too, or put in for some variations, or just give something a little bit of life too. Okay, let's go ahead and start the process. I'm going to be working off of the basic 8th note beat for most of these grooves here, although we'll also be doing some 16th notes and 8th notes, but we're going to start off with 8th notes today. Okay, for beat number 1, we're going to do just a basic 8th note beat, but on the and of 2, hit that snare again. Okay, for number 2, we're going to do our double snare backbeat this time on beat 4. So normal backbeat on 2 and then double it up on beat 4. For number 3, we're going to do the double snare backbeat on both beats 2 and 4. For number 4, we're going to add 8th note bass drums this time on beat 1, and then we'll do our double snare backbeat on beat 2. For number 5, we're going to put 8th notes in our bass drum on beat 3, and we'll do the double snare backbeat on beat 4. For number 6, we're going to have 8th notes in our bass drum on beat 1, double snare backbeat on beat 2, and then bass drum having 8th notes again on beat 3, normal backbeat on beat 4. For number 7, we're going to have 8th notes in our bass drum on beat 1, double snare backbeat on beat 2, and then repeat that same concept for beats 3 and 4. Okay, for number 8, now we're going to go to our quarter note beats. So think of it like a basic quarter note beat, but we're going to do our double snare backbeat for this one on beat 2, and that second snare backbeat is going to be all by itself on beat 2. So it's going to be this concept, 1, 2, and so snare all by itself right there, 3, 4. For number 9, we're going to have our double snare backbeat on beat 4 this time, keeping our number 10, we're going to have our double snare backbeat on beats 2 and 4 this time. For number 11, we're going to have eighth notes in our bass drum on beat 1 with our double snare backbeat on beat 2, and then basic for beats 3 and 4. Okay, for number 12, we're going to have our double snare backbeat on both beats 2 and 4, and we'll have eighth notes in our bass drum on beat 3. For number 13, we have eighth notes in our bass drum for beats 1 and 3, and we have our double snare backbeat on beat 2. For number 14, we have eighth notes in our bass drum on beat 1, double snare backbeat on 2, and then repeat that same concept for beats 3 and 4. Okay, for number 15, now we're going to go into 16th notes. So think of it like a basic 16th note beat, but we're going to double up on our snare and hit it again on the and of 2, giving us that double snare backbeat. For number 16, we're going to have our double snare backbeat on beat 4 this time. For number 17, we're going to have our double snare backbeat on both beats 2 and 4. For number 18, we're going to have eighth notes in our bass drum on beat 1 and our double snare backbeat on beat 2, and then basic for beats 3 and 4. For number 19, we're going to have our double snare backbeat on both beats 2 and 4, and we'll have eighth notes in our bass drum for beat 3. For number 20, we're going to have eighth notes in our bass drum for beats 1 and 3, and we'll have our double snare backbeat on beat 2. For number 21, on beat 1, we'll have eighth notes in our bass drum, double snare backbeat on beat 2, and then repeat that same concept for beats 3 and 4. Number 22, we're going to do a switch exercise going from a basic eighth note beat for 4 bars into a double snare backbeat on beat 2 for 4 bars. number 23, we're going to do a similar concept now with quarter note beats. So 4 bars of a quarter note basic beat into 4 bars of a quarter note beat with double snare backbeat on beat 2. For number 24, we're going to do the 16th note version of this exercise. We're going to go 4 bars of basic 16th note beat into 4 bars of basic 16th note, but now we're going to have our double snare backbeat on beat 2. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time for chapter 15. Cheers.